Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 4. This week, we are going to start writing the paragraphs for our first essay. And so, of course, our first lecture is going to be on writing paragraphs. Basically, this is going to go over the main structure of your essay, things like introduction, conclusion, all that kind of good stuff. But it's also going to break down the structure of a typical paragraph. And so, like, here's the structure of a paper, here's the structure of a paragraph, and it's all color-coded to kind of show you the parallels between the paragraph structure and the paper structure. They're basically serving similar functions. Logic flows a certain way. And so if you want your paper to flow logically, you just want to make sure that you're following this type of order. And so this is going to come up when you're writing your summary paragraph. Basically, I want you to write your summary paragraph first, and that's because you just watched your documentary or podcast. It's fresh in your mind, and so now you'll be able to write these ideas down quickly without having to kind of go back and say, well, wait a minute, what was that about again? So here you can just go ahead and write this down, and you don't need this to be super long. You just want to give the reader a little bit of a sense of what the documentary or podcast is about so that when you start taking it apart into different pieces, they'll be able to kind of imagine what the documentary was about in the first place, right before you start saying, and here's what the pathos was. Speaking of pathos, the other assignment that you're working on this week is your pathos paragraph. And so what I want you to do for this is take those examples that you wrote down in your documentary podcast notes and figure out if there's any way that you can kind of divide them. And you don't have to do this yet, but you might start thinking a little bit ahead. I know some of you like to do that. And so you can start thinking about if I was going to divide my pathos into different types of categories, like pathos about pathos stories where people are telling you things that happen to them and it makes you feel inspired, or maybe it makes you feel sad. And then pathos where it's the music that the documentary is using and the visual effects, like it goes into black and white, or it has like a very like a soft lens and some parts that make you really, it looks beautiful or something. And so you can break your pathos into different ideas. Those will eventually get into different paragraphs because you're going to want to have at least 2 paragraphs for each of the rhetorical appeals, maybe excluding Kairos. So anyway, then this is going to go over the order that your paragraph should be in, and that's the same stuff that's covered in the lecture, but it's going to be, you want to have a topic sentence, you want to have evidence, and then you want to have an analysis for each of your examples. And then if you want to, again, think ahead, you can also end with a transition into your next pathos paragraph if you kind of know where you're going to go next, okay? And then our final assignment this week is our presentation discussion board 2. We are going to be looking at Ed and Erica's presentations. Both of these are still on scams. And so I think they'll be great to kind of keep us in that mindset, learning more about scams and how they work. And I really thought that your answers, your responses to these presentations last week were great. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where the conversation goes this week. Anyway, I hope you all have a great week. I'm looking forward to reading your drafts. And yeah, have a great one.